For 48 years, Voyager 2 has drifted farther than any human creation, a silent messenger slipping beyond the warmth of the sun. For decades, its data was predictable, steady: particle counts, plasma waves, cosmic rays, the normal hum of deep space. But then came the transmission that changed everything. The signal wasn't supposed to exist. It arrived distorted, fragmented, carrying frequencies that didn't align with any known system. When decoded, it revealed not words or numbers, but a pulse, an intricate pattern, deliberate, rhythmic, like breathing. At first, engineers assumed interference, maybe a solar flare or cosmic static. But when the signal repeated every 19 hours with mathematical precision, the room went silent. It wasn't random. It was structured. When analysts transformed the signal into a visual format, they didn't see stars or dust or plasma arcs. They saw symmetry. A configuration of light and shadow that formed a shape so precise it couldn't be natural. Angular lines intersected in fractal geometries, folding in on themselves like reflections trapped in glass. It wasn't an image, it was an equation, a living diagram written in light. And at its center, a faint curvature of dark space that seemed to pull everything inward. The strangest part wasn't what was in the image. It was what surrounded it. No background noise, no stars, no void radiation. Just absence, as if the object had erased space around itself. When they compared Voyager's positional data, they discovered that the signal originated from beyond the heliopause, far outside the solar wind's reach, yet it arrived with the intensity of something much closer. Almost as if it wasn't sent across distance at all, but folded directly into existence beside the probe. Shortly after the transmission, Voyager's sensors detected a distortion in local magnetic fields. A wave, subtle but undeniable, rippled outward and back again, as though the universe itself had blinked. The probe's instruments began to drift, reporting conflicting spatial readings, its distance from the sun fluctuating by fractions of a second light speed, then stabilizing, then shifting again. For a moment, it appeared as if Voyager had been displaced, not moved, but slightly misaligned with the space it once occupied. NASA classified the anomaly and quietly recalibrated the antennas. But data leaks always find a way. A group of independent astronomers captured fragments of the same pulse on private receivers. When they converted it to audio, they described it as a hum that seemed to vibrate inside the bones, low and steady, carrying harmonics that triggered unease, even nausea. Some said it sounded almost like a voice, not speaking, but waiting. Then something even stranger occurred. As Voyager continued transmitting, deep-sea monitoring stations on Earth began picking up identical low-frequency tones echoing through the oceans. Not loud, not consistent, but enough to register across multiple sensors at the same rhythm as the interstellar pulse. It was impossible. Whatever was reaching Voyager seemed to be resonating here, inside our own planet's atmosphere and water. When data from the probe's magnetometer was cross-referenced with seismic records, a pattern emerged. Tiny vibrations, measured in microseconds, rippling through Earth's magnetic field in perfect synchrony with the probe's signal bursts. Scientists called it coincidence. Others called it contact. Weeks later, the signal changed. It became more complex, layered tones modulated with prime number sequences, expanding outward like a countdown. Attempts to decode it caused unexpected behavior in analysis software. Programs froze, corrupted, even crashed completely when running the decryption algorithms. Hardware failures followed, and in one case, a power grid blackout coincided with a data attempt. The code wasn't just information, it was doing something. A research team in Germany tried converting the data into a three-dimensional projection. What appeared was a lattice of pulsating nodes, each connecting to others in shifting sequences. It wasn't random, It resembled neural activity, a brain-like structure composed of energy patterns. But when they left the model running overnight, the system began generating new data that wasn't in the original file. The pattern was self-replicating, evolving. Voyager's trajectory then shifted by less than a degree. Not enough to suggest collision or interference, but just enough to point its antenna away from Earth. The signal strength weakened, but never faded entirely. Engineers tried to reorient it remotely, but the probe didn't respond. For all practical purposes, Voyager 2 was alive, listening to something we couldn't hear. Days later, radio telescopes in Australia caught a faint echo. The pulse had changed direction, no longer coming from Voyager's coordinates, but from interstellar space behind it. Something else was sending it now. Something enormous, invisible, and silent. It was using Voyager as a relay. When scientists attempted to triangulate the new source, they found nothing visible, no light, no heat, no radiation. Yet gravitational mapping revealed a distortion the size of a small moon. The anomaly moved inconsistently, sometimes faster than physics allowed, other times pausing completely when observed. Like a shadow that only exists when you look at it. Inside NASA, whispers spread about an earlier incident, an encrypted note from 1981 that mentioned a self-replicating signal fragment, received weeks after Voyager's launch. It had been dismissed as noise. But the phrasing in the log matched the current data perfectly. It wasn't the first time. It was the second. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the pulse stopped. Voyager's transmission returned to normal. The probe drifted silently through the dark again, its systems stable, its sensors calm. Everything appeared fine. Until the plasma wave instrument picked up one final, faint echo. A single tone. When converted to sound, it was simple, almost human, 3 ascending notes, followed by a pause. Then, faintly, a whisper buried in the static. Not words, just a vibration shaped like a word. Analysts ran it through every linguistic model, every modulation filter. Only one result ever matched. A translation too close to coincidence to ignore. It said, "Still watching." The message was archived, buried, and officially denied. Voyager 2 continues to drift beyond our reach, its golden record still carrying humanity's greetings to the stars. But somewhere in the dark, could an object born beyond our stars truly stir the heart of our world? Science insists it cannot. Yet the evidence is no longer so easily dismissed. Something crimson, cold, and ancient has entered our solar system, and the deeper it moves, the more the universe seems to react. They call it the Crimson Visitor. To astronomers, it is catalogued simply as Atlas 3I, an interstellar object that behaves like no comet ever seen. It pulses with color, shifts unpredictably, and emits frequencies that no instrument can fully explain. Some call it static. Others, a pattern. But what if it's not noise at all? What if it's music, a resonance that Earth itself can feel? In physics, resonance is no myth. A single, well-timed vibration can shatter glass or cause bridges to collapse. Everything that exists vibrates at a certain frequency, from atoms to stars. And if the Crimson Visitor has found the right tone, the right cosmic rhythm, then maybe the tremors beneath our feet are not random at all. When the comet passed Mars, something extraordinary happened. The barren red world began to glow faintly at its poles, a soft shimmer of auroras that should not exist. Mars has no strong magnetic field, no real shield against solar winds, and yet, it danced in light. Instruments aboard orbiters recorded waves of electromagnetic energy rippling through its thin skies. The timing matched perfectly with a solar storm striking the comet itself, as if the object had redirected the sun's energy toward Mars. If a dead planet like Mars can respond to that influence, what about Earth, alive, magnetic, covered in oceans and teeming with motion? Scientists began to whisper that what happened to Mars might be a preview, a smaller echo of what could soon reach us. As the Crimson Traveler advanced, astronomers across the world noticed something else: distant stars flickering in unison. Bursts of radiation, synchronized across impossible distances. Coincidence, some said. Yet the timing aligned with the comet's arrival. It was as though the cosmos itself had been struck like a vast instrument, each star responding faintly to the same invisible note. If comets are cosmic messengers, perhaps this one is not here to deliver information, but to awaken something. Maybe it is not a visitor, but a conductor, drawing energy through the solar system like strings in a great, vibrating web. No model can predict what comes next. Every simulation fails when Atlas 3I is added to the equation. One moment it brightens, the next it fragments. Plasma streams arc in directions that defy solar physics. Its tail splits, twists, and reforms as though guided by will, not gravity. Meanwhile, earthquakes rise without warning. Ocean currents shift unpredictably. Magnetic storms flicker across the poles. Then came the magnetic anomalies. Across observatories in Japan, Canada, and Norway, magnetometers began recording abrupt surges in Earth's field, sharp, irregular bursts that arrived simultaneously across thousands of kilometers. Nothing from the sun could explain their perfect coordination. Some began to suspect the unthinkable, that Atlas 3I was emitting electromagnetic pulses powerful enough to reach Earth directly, tuning our magnetic field like a radio receiver. Auroras brightened across the poles. Electronic interference swept across communication systems. What was once dismissed as coincidence now looked disturbingly deliberate. In the days following the Venezuelan earthquakes, public data on Atlas 3I began to vanish. NASA's briefings became short, recycled, vague. Independent observatories reported connection errors. Seismic feeds went offline without explanation. And when they returned, key segments were missing. Some claimed it was a system glitch. Others weren't so sure. The silence grew louder than any explanation. When the data disappears, it's usually not because there's nothing to show, but because there's too much. Those within the agencies understand that if the public saw the full correlation between cosmic flares, magnetic storms, and Earth's unrest, panic could spread faster than any truth. And so the official word remains quiet, while whispers circulate through private networks, closed meetings, restricted research, classified simulations that predict outcomes no one dares to speak aloud. But the pattern is already visible to anyone who looks. Quakes. Auroras. Solar storms. A red comet growing brighter every night. This is not random. This is not chance. It is a chain reaction, the universe vibrating through us, connecting sky and soil in a resonance we can barely comprehend. The ancients warned that when the heavens change, the earth answers. Today, it seems that warning is alive again.